Hi folks, I'm Simon Hathaway. I am this person here. I'm delighted to be the chairman of the MAA at the moment. I've been here for the last year. Welcome to Chale, our offices, and obviously welcome to the AGM again this year. It's been an interesting year for me taking over from Ian Milner. It was one of, as I said at the time, big sort of feat to follow. That's the right phrase, is it? Big shoes to fill, that's the word. But I think we've had a great year, and we sort of stepped out with three ambitions to kind of look at diversity, transformation.
Active.
Don't worry about that. Yeah, to be transformative, to be diverse, and to be active, but particularly to look at the areas of the MAA that deliver transformation, amplification, protection. And I think we've seen some great work coming out of that. But also a new attitude, which has been the most exciting thing for me. We've been a little bit more aggressive in our point of view. We've shown our teeth on a few things, which has been really, really great. So some pitches where we believe things haven't been done quite the right way, we've called it out, right? Something that agencies can't really do, but we've called that out. And I think that's the sort of thing we're starting to look at doing, and we're trying to be just a little bit more punk in how we go about it, which for me is completely fitting in our 25th year, because the last thing I remember was the Silver Queen, sorry, that's the only word, isn't it? Silver Queen's Jubilee. In fact, we are now, it was the Queen's Silver Jubilee. I do apologise. Sorry, I don't to get a better joke than that. Anyway, so, this afternoon we're going to whiz through what is officially the AGM, and that's going to be a lot of stuff around the financials and what we've actually delivered. And then perhaps more exciting is we're going to look at the key projects that we've been doing with the MAA, and I'm going to hand over to the guys from the board, which is a wonderful group of people, to really showcase that work, because there is some amazing stuff being done.
The reason why we're doing the Agency of the Future project is that it's really time to change. We are in a place, this industry in a state of flux, and we really need to start to look at how we can change this. We know that the reason part of this has happened is that technology has really changed the way that consumers are interacting with brands, and actually brands are really struggling to keep up to date with that and how they can keep up in terms of all the changes that are going on so quickly and so fast. They are really struggling. Agencies are also having similar problems, and in that there's a complete disconnect in what's going on. We're also seeing the rise of startup technology companies, and actually the top 68 startups, excluding Facebook, are now worth over $250 billion, and companies and brands really want to get involved with that. And that's how we got Unilever and Unilever Foundry talking about this at our Structuring Business for Creative Technology events last month, and we had a really good turnout. But clients are really desperate to understand how they can work with startups in a much more effective way, and that's where agencies can really step in to help. So this is really showing that what's going on is the era of Mad Men has changed, and actually TV is not having the same cut through anymore, because consumers are using technology in different ways and having really different perspectives and conversations with the brands. And actually how we can start to tap into that when, say in the US, smartphone users are tapping into their phone 150 times per day, really changes the way we have to think and work as agencies. So what this is seeing is that actually agencies and clients are having also real different challenges that they're facing. We're seeing clients sort of needing agencies to showcase different types of work, talk about specialist skills that they have, sourcing and maintaining what talent's going to be coming through these agencies, are all causing friction between clients and agencies. We're also seeing that clients they're overwhelmed by the fact that there's over 14,000, or sometimes 20,000 agencies in the UK alone, and they really understand how can they get the right service from all this. You've also got agencies actually not knowing how to sell their services properly, and when they do, actually the margins that they're looking for are being squeezed out of them, so the lifeblood of the agency is dying. So all this is leading to the fact that we actually need to change. And this is why we came up with this Agency of the Future project. But before actually embarking on the Agency of the Future, we needed to do some desk research to really find out what was going on in this industry. And actually it makes quite fascinating reading and really showcases some of the challenges that this industry faces. here's just one part of the infographic that sort of we're looking at, which showcases sort of the client and agency disconnect that's going on, and the fact that you've got a quarter of clients don't feel that creativity can solve a business problem anymore, or the fact that actually you've got marketers really needing to demonstrate commercial success, but they don't believe that the agencies can do that at this moment in time. So some of these are really sort of fascinating, and the report that we're going to be sending out demonstrates this even further and showcases that there are some real challenges that this industry faces, and that's why we need to think about this Agency of the Future project. So when we get to the report, you're going to be circulating the report early next week. But what we wanted to do is actually the data the statistics that we've got led to sort of leading to 4 hypotheses that we needed to think about. The first one is actually turning up the rule book, and this is looking about how agencies operate, how they're structured, it could be how they source talent, and actually starting to think about that, answer that debate. We're also thinking about creativity in the age of procurement is another area that we're looking at, and this is actually about bringing back value into the relationship, not in terms of the whole relationship, but also actually the output that we produce. We've also got to prove it and chat about it, and this is talking about bringing marketing effectiveness into everything that we do. Every agency should be, anything that they produce should have some sort of ROI metric attached to it, or do we need to create new models to actually help clients prove the value that they need? And then the final one is about building the path to collaboration, and this is about bringing trust back into the relationship, about how can we collaborate better together to make sure that we can actually really move it forward and actually build what this industry can do forward. So the next steps of this project is we'll be sharing the report with members at the beginning of next week. Simon has written an article which we're going to be pushing out to the press and putting into the Guardian. And then we're going to be starting with these 4 hypotheses. We're going to be starting getting clients involved, industry specialists involved, agency members involved, and actually debating this. But what we don't want it to be is this sort of look at us debating about it, which is what Scott said is not what the MAA is about, but it's about bringing actions and insights and actually tools to the rest of the membership so that actually they can start to take the actions they need. It's not about this is a one-size-fits-all agency, it's about actually taking the things that are right for you and bringing them back into your agency. So please do watch out for the report that's coming out, and also please do participate in the rest of the project as it moves forward.
What I realised was that creative technology is this field that has been embraced by digital agencies and different technology companies. And while it's an area that's producing lots of the outstanding work and the award-winning work, it's still very much in a silo, it's still very much in a ghetto. And while I think that agencies, creative agencies, have the ability to invent these ideas, they're smart people, they don't necessarily have all of the talent they need to do it. And what they certainly don't have is necessarily the way of operationalising, of actually delivering the ideas. And so what we thought was we'd get together an initiative which is about A, highlighting the opportunities around creative technology, then B, sharing insights, not necessarily about the outcomes, but how to get to the outcomes. So how to develop them, so what kind of tech talent you need, how to pay for them, how to get clients to fund them, is it OPEX or CAPEX, for instance, and then how to measure the effect, so how to justify the output. The point being that invariably creative technology results in new touch points, and so effectively it's new media, it's new types of media, new ways of engagement, and therefore the future of brand engagement. And so that's why the initiative exists. So we kicked the thing off with an event which we hosted at Geometry, where we invited Alpa Oglu, who's a global media director at Unilever, to keynote, and we invited 4 agencies, Elvis, SarchiX, and Iris, to share work which was creative technology based that had won Best Awards in 2013. And so, as Patrick mentioned earlier, we had this event, I think 50 odd people, more than, roughly about half clients, and it went down very, very well. Subsequently, marketing who were present as well wrote the thing up, and we got a whole load of publicity off the back, including a piece on the Guardian website. It's not playing. Anyway, that's Alpa, who's a rock star who talked about examples that he'd worked on for Magnum and for Knorr, for Unilever. Subsequently, I wrote something which marketing published, and it's got retweeted like 1,000 times, and which is to do with unlocking the next era of marketing. And I guess a mixture of The Guardian and the marketing magazine has just added up to this kind of, a lot of interest and a lot of spread. What we're doing next is we're organising a speed dating event. So on one side of the relationship will be agencies and brands, the other side will be tech startups. It's something that Iris already do, and so we're planning to have it at Iris. And then we're considering hosting a hackathon, so for which we would need a big problem and invite agency creatives and strategists to get stuck in and solving the problem. And we're also looking at a partnership with Technology Will Save Us, who do creative technology training. And so that would be something which would be delivered by the MAA, or by the Technology Will Save Us by the MAA, to promote the discipline of creative technology in agencies and successful outcomes. So that's where we are there. It's a kind of initiative that started. We're planning to probably do about 2 things a year.
Hi, MAA membership. It's exciting to be at an AGM. So as I sat down to prepare my brief update on the work that I'm leading on as Chair of Youth and Diversity, my heart sank a little bit as I started pulling a bunch of PowerPoint slides together on the subject of diversity. I could think of better ways to spend my Sunday, so I'm rebelling against the slides today. And instead of stats and facts, I think it's going to be more useful to share the story so far with you. Interestingly, heart sinking was exactly how I felt when I was first invited onto the MAA board to chair this area sometime in 2013. Sorry, but it's the truth. I wasn't an expert on diversity, and what on earth could I bring to this subject? And more importantly, what value was I going to bring to the MAA membership? And really scarily, what if I said or did the wrong thing in terms of diversity? And anyway, how bad could the whole diversity thing really be? Now, you don't need me to tell you so, but Scott Knox is very persuasive. So I eventually agreed to give it a go, despite my reservations. So the first thing I initiated in my was to design an agency census to find out what the real diversity dealio really was. And I have to be honest with you, disappointment led to disappointment. Getting agencies to participate was like pulling teeth, and then the results themselves were pretty woeful. Apart from Liberty, my own agency. The stats for Liberty were really great, which at first felt a bit awkward. I knew we had a pretty diverse team across the business. It's not perfect by any means, but I was quite shocked to find out how starkly different our agency makeup was compared to any other member of agencies who had participated. So much so that it was potentially skewing the overall results and actually making the averages for our membership look much better than the reality, and still the stats were pretty woeful. So when we were looking at the stats from the census about this time last year, I suddenly understood much better why I had been asked to take on the role. So next was the challenge of what to do about it. I had absolutely no desire to be yet another membership or sector releasing its woeful diversity stats, and it was far too early days to be setting targets or making public pledges. So I was looking for some inspiration. I don't really know why or how Liberty is so diverse in our makeup. There has never been a policy, there has never been an objective. But what I do believe, and what I do experience firsthand, year in, year out, are the massive business benefits to be had in having a broad and diverse makeup in your agency. Innovation, evolution, invention, diversification. These are all important words in our business, and I bet they are for many of you too. Or better understanding of consumers and audiences, more interesting and dynamic ways of thinking, creating and making. Business imperatives, surely, for most businesses within the membership. What I also believe is that once you begin to have a more diverse team makeup, you begin to become the magnet for attracting more people from wider and more diverse backgrounds. After all, if part of the problem is that as humans we have a natural tendency to recruit in our own image, then when we begin to crack the diversity challenge, can we start to break the status quo? And can we use that same human trait to our advantage, for a while at least? So last year was about starting a conversation to ease ourselves into exploring how doing different could work. Yes, we gave diversity a different name so as to stealthily introduce the topic. The good news was the notion of doing different inspired the board and got elevated to become Do Different, part of the Transformation Rallying Club. So it was a good start. We began to use the Guardian Partner Zone area to showcase the thoughts and examples of different member agencies who were seeing, feeling and championing the business benefits of diversity and doing different. Sharing and showcasing was our approach for 2014. And we did. We heard from a number of different agencies: Sapient Nitro, Iris, ARC, Blue Chip, Multiply and Liberty. And between us, we've covered the topics of ethnic minorities, working mums, working dads, women in leadership, LGBT, nationalities, youth and more. And there are more lined up for 2015. And the invitation to contribute is completely open to members, as it has been from the get-go. Share the business benefits of diversity and doing different. We need more voices, more stories and more examples. And we also need the membership to share more. So we'll be putting out a request and a reminder and some encouraging and easy to engage with sharing and showcasing tips. Please participate. We also identified a partner to work with and develop a bespoke set of MAA internships, which will bring 10 brilliant grads from a Black, Asian or ethnic minority background into our agencies in 2015. We hope to do it twice. We're going to start with one cohort. Once again, we'll be requesting your support and participation with this programme, because clearly it won't work without you. Other things that we're working on in 2015, an updated census. We're just a year on now from the first one, so where are we in comparison? And can we please get a better participation this year so that our data and our picture is accurate? In return, we promise to keep the task short and simple, as short and simple as we can. We're exploring some live doing different events with the wonderful House of St Barnabas, bringing some of our written topics to life and into the real world and into real world conversations. And we're joining up with the Google Digital Revolution, which is a massive client-side survey, which is setting out to understand the skills gaps and opportunities of now and the future. The Marketing Society and the IPA are also partners. So in 2015, we continue the conversation, but we're also moving into some engineering, some testing, and some collaboration. Finally, I want to say a huge thank you to the team that have mobilised action around doing different over the last 15 months. From Liberty, Kate, Giselle, Will and Yamri, and from the MAA, Suzanne, Scott and Ian. Thank you very much. A dedicated group who have got this big topic off the ground. But if we're going to deliver change through this activity, we need a bigger, more engaged group, and we need better membership participation and engagement. So today I'm launching a call for Doing Different champions. It's my aim to get a Doing Different champion appointed from at least 75% of the membership. There will be someone in your agency who sees the benefit in doing things differently, in diversity. Someone who can put energy, passion, and just a very small amount of time into this activity. Let me know this evening, drop me an email, let the MAA team know. We'll also follow this up on an email. It's my belief that diversity breeds diversity. So let's keep lighting these little fires of exploration and activity. Let's understand the barriers, let's find opportunities and solutions, and let's enjoy the business benefits that emerge. Thank you very much.
I picked up a project about entrepreneurship, called it Super Entrepreneur to kick it off with. And what is Super Entrepreneur as well? It's a study by the MAA into the entrepreneurial culture that exists within big blue chip companies. I'm sure you guys are all experiencing quite a lot of change going on in your client organisations.
And so we wanted to just explore that. So spend some time focusing on actually our clients and how they're thinking and how they're behaving and how they're changing. And looking at really, I guess, the context for that change within those clients' organisations. And very importantly, the implications clearly for you guys and for us around what that means in terms of how we have to behave and think differently towards those organisations and what they're looking for fundamentally from us. So that was the kind of the why. The how was, we started off with a hypothesis, and the hypothesis we started with was to say that a lot of the big blue chip organisations are built around principles of structure and scale, but yet a lot of the challenges that they're facing currently, those are not the fundamental requirements to deliver. So things like changing competitive context, changes in the implications and the impact of digital and social, a large number of competitive change, globalization, big data, fundamentally big things that are affecting those organizations. So the hypothesis was these companies, these big organizations, all of a sudden have, from 50 years of being able to behave in a fairly fundamentally the same way, just scale and grow, to actually having to adopt some very different behaviours, which is requiring a greater focus around entrepreneurialism within those organisations. So that was the hypothesis. What I did was I conducted some interviews amongst they were all C-suite clients, talking about those issues, and it was really fascinating. So we talked to companies like Universal Music, Unilever, BMW, a variety, British Fashion Corporation, The Guardian, a whole load of companies, about 20 companies, and every single one of them supported the hypothesis and said it's actually fundamentally true that we as an organisation are having to think in more entrepreneurial ways than we've ever had to do in the past. What was interesting as well was every single company had some brilliant examples. Once you start talking to them about their business, it was quite instructive for me, talking to them about their business much more than talking about what you want to get from them. They were opening up really interesting ways and really specific examples of how entrepreneurial culture was fundamental to the way they saw the business in the future. So the hypothesis was supported through a number of those interviews. What we then did was said, well, actually, as an agency group, we didn't feel that we could really tackle this subject objectively with enough information and objective knowledge. And I guess as importantly, create a voice that would be relevant for media to create media output on behalf of the MAA. So we put together a panel, which I'll come on to in a second. We created a debate amongst the panel, and then on the back of that we created, one of the things I decided fairly early on, however sort of pop it is, we felt it would be useful to create a kind of table of results, because that table of results then creates an opportunity for, I guess, media talkability, a talking point, as well as, I guess, an opportunity for agencies to focus and to think about those companies that are more entrepreneurial in outlook, and therefore think about how we tackle their business challenges in a different way. And then obviously a whole series of output that fell out of the back of that, which I'll just go through briefly. So this was the panel we put together. It was a pretty broad, diverse panel, but a panel of people who have objectivity, information, insight, and a degree of gravitas. So we had Anne Frank, who was a very kind of leading figure, CEO for the Chartered Management Institute. If any of you guys have met her, she's very vocal and contributed quite a lot. We had the Director General, John Longworth, from the British Chamber of Commerce. We had John Warren, the Director of Strategy for the British Council. We had Jonathan Goodwin, who's the founder of Lepe Partners. We had Julia Finch, who heads up business and consumer for The Guardian. Obviously, they were a key media partner for us. We had Keith Wiley, who's the Professor for Strategy and Entrepreneurship for the London Business School, so very much thinking about future leaders of organisations and the education process around it. We had Matthew Rock, who's co-founder of Real Business and an economist for the City AM. we had Mr. Knox, we had Stephen Chaliotis, who also was very heavily involved in some of the analysis that we put behind the project in terms of working out how to build a relevant table and a chart. So he's chairman of Super Brands and Cool Brands, but he's also CEO of a company called the Centre of Brand Analysis. So he does report on TV programmes when people are asking questions about brands and businesses. He's often quoted, and himself. And out of that, one of the outputs, and only one of the outputs, was this chart. This is the first year we put it together. So what we did was we got the panel to put a scoring system together of the top 100 blue chip companies. I won't go into details of how we identified who those companies were, and ranked them around two things. The first one was outlook, so more philosophical. So as a business, does that company inspire more entrepreneurial thinking in the way that it does its business, and does that impact the industry at large by a more entrepreneurial output? And then secondly, outlook, and secondly, in physical, tangible output. So how strongly were those companies able to demonstrate attitudes around entrepreneurship and put that into practice in terms of physical product and output that demonstrated they were more entrepreneurial. And then what we did is we created a combined scoring of those two things and then ranked them. It was a big debate, discussion topic about whether we should number them 1, 2, 3 or 4, and in the end opted for a AAA rating going down. Interestingly, amongst the panel, there wasn't a single company that came up with a AAA rating, but there was a number of companies that came up with AA, etc., and worked down from that. So that's where we started. And then on the back of that, we did a whole series of other things. So we had a Guardian debate where we had a representative from the Guardian who was chairing the debate. We had the marketing director from Samsung, Ines van Gennep, there, and a few other people on a panel, and some of you guys might have been there, but we ran a panel debate around the subject of entrepreneurship in blue chip organisations. And we obviously have a website presence within the MAA site and a number of other things. So it's the start of a project. It's really focused on looking at our client organisations and how they are responding in a different way. And I guess challenging us as a group of agencies to think about how we behave differently. The one stat that I would say from all of the interviews that came up was that when asked about their entrepreneurial challenge and said, do the existing agencies that represent those companies, are they responding well or badly to the entrepreneurial challenges rather than the status quo institutional challenges? Were they doing a good or a bad job? Overwhelmingly, the answer was not doing a great job. So the existing agencies are much better at dealing with the institutional ongoing challenges of those organisations versus facing up to and helping them support them on the cutting edge, the sharp edge of the future of those companies. And I think that's a big watch out for us all.
Okay, after all that really exciting, forward-thinking stuff, I'm going to spend just a couple of minutes talking about my favourite subject, which is talent and training. And when Patrick and the team were looking at the Agency of the Future project, we came across quite an alarming statistic, which is that only 36% of agencies bother to train their staff, which, if my maths is correct, means that 64% of agencies are not investing in training at all. And I don't know what you think, but I think that's a really big figure. It's pretty obvious why we need to train people. You don't need me to tell you this, but better trained people lead to better results, they lead to greater efficiencies, but also trained people are happier people, and if they're happier, they're going to stay with you longer, and it avoids that big cost of trying to find new people and the big cost of recruitment. And there was a quote in the Sunday Times Best Companies. It's basically saying if we don't wise up to training and investing in people, then they'll vote with their feet and they'll walk. When I talk to agencies, the biggest barrier, kind of obviously, is the cost of training. It does cost a lot, or it can cost a lot. And when times are tough, it's an easy thing to cut out of the budget, and I get that. But with a little help from our friends in government this year, we think that we've alleviated a lot of that barrier, because we've managed to get our hands on 2 quite significant pots of money. The first one is with the Department for Business Innovation and Skills, and they have kindly agreed to fund our diploma in integrated marketing, to almost 50%, and the Future Leaders Academy, which will be running in September, to about 30%. The diploma has completely sold out now. We've got 34 young, talented people going on it this year, and we'll be hoping to run it again in September, again with funding from Business and Innovation Skills. The really exciting news, which Scott mentioned before, is that we stumbled across a pot of money called the Diversity Fund. And the Diversity Fund, through Skillset, will fund all of MAA training up to 80%, which is a massive amount of money. And this is for underrepresented groups. And the underrepresented groups are defined as the following. Number 1, women. Number 2, don't laugh. Number 2, people with disabilities. And thirdly, non-white ethnic minority groups. And this is not about saying we don't want to invest in white males and train white males, but it does allow you to make your budgets go a lot further and to work a lot harder for you. And lots of agencies are already taking advantage of this. So far, just this year, 21 agencies have applied for remote funding, diversity funding, to the tune of £51,000. Quite a lot of money. And 11 agencies have received just over £27,000 to fund the diploma. And this makes me really, really happy, as they know in the office. But everything this year has sold out. So our first 3 excellence courses sold out. We put another one on, and that sold out as well. We put one on in April. I think we've got 1 place left on it. So that's great. That's kind of great news. Great because they're selling out, but it means that agencies are starting to realise the importance of training and investing in it. And as I said, the diploma is sold out as well.
3 questions asked following that, and they also had a facilitated roundtable discussion where they debated some of these issues together. We'll be sharing a summary of that. We want to launch it in marketing first as a headline piece in terms of an initiative being run by the MAA. The good news is there isn't a single challenge that retailers can throw at us that people in this room can't answer. The issue is that the profile of the expertise in this room is not evident enough in the publicity around retail at the moment. And so what we're trying to find is the perfect hook to start off that conversation for the MAA in the press, so we can start shining a light on the diversity of talent we already have and the skills that we can bring to the party to help retailers with their current and future challenges. What we don't want to do is join the conversation of the last 5 years. We want to talk about the conversation of the next 10 and also help agencies, small, medium and large, of every discipline to gear up for those challenges so that every member in the MAA can access this thought leadership and best practices. So there are other retailers that want to join this conversation, such as Amazon and Boots, who weren't there on the day. It was before Christmas, so it's quite tricky getting them in the room anyway. And we really do think it's a tight collaboration between us and the retailers to change the conversation and to move it forward, and particularly to talk about how we talk to the next generation. So following this, we'll keep feeding you more information, and we'll share some of this content as well after it's been launched in marketing. But anyone who touches retail can participate in this initiative. What we want to do is supply you with the tools to do that, to run your own events, to run your own training, and for the MAA to support that as well. So, I don't know if there's any questions?
So that's it, I think, from us all. Are there any questions at this point about any of the initiatives or any of the work we've shown you this evening? You all pleased with it? Do you think we're doing a good job? Thank you, Scott, and the team there. Great. Okay, well, if nobody's got any questions, I personally am sort of delighted with the work that's going forward, and I think, for me, there's a couple of things that came through. There have been 2 startling statistics I've heard, one which I heard actually today in a piece that Patrick sent me, and then one that Tim mentioned, which was that so many clients now don't think agencies are as relevant to their business challenges as they used to be. And then stat that we talked about, was it quarter? No, there's it was 51% of clients now have some form of in-house agency, of which 50% I believe are.
48% of clients have an in-house agency, and over 50% of digital and strategic.
Over 50% of digital and strategic. So 58% of clients have in-house agencies. So that starts to ask a big question about this thought about transformation. All right, so a lot of what we're seeing today and what we've been talking about is that challenge of transformation and making sure that we stay relevant as a group of agencies. And I hope that you see in those initiatives that's what we're trying to do. So there's a transformation agency project. We're seeing super entrepreneurs which are keeping in touch with clients. We've got transformation in retail, that's a big theme for us, but also diversity as well coming through in that way to drive those and bring those tools together which help our agencies grow and evolve and do things differently. And that is the key thing. And I think the awards are coming up next week, which I'm very excited about. And that theme has also been taken through that as well, that thought of do different, which is really driving everything that we do. And we're hoping that you're seeing that come to life in a little bit more of a punk style with a bit more attitude. So anyway, that's it. There was wine and niggles, I think, or something like that outside. Do help yourself, come and have a chat. If you've got any questions that you didn't want to ask in public, that is your time to ask them. Great, thank you very much.